Welcome back to the Pensions and Finance Deep Dive. This is a breaking news podcast on the back of the UK autumn budget. Our purpose today is to provide urgent guidance to British expats and other Brits considering moving abroad to live. My name is Michelle Nevitt and my co-host is David Banks.
Yes, this is a big one. We're focusing on a seismic change for British expats and their access to the state pension. This is an autumn budget financial tsunami that's hitting tens of thousands of UK citizens all over the world. Dubai, France, Australia, you name it. Consequently, later on, we'll talk you through an urgent to-do list that could save you thousands of pounds in NIC contributions and your UK state pension.
We'll start by carrying out a quick analysis of the overhaul of voluntary national insurance contributions announced almost quietly in the recent 2025 autumn budget.
Yet for tens of thousands of British expats, this is not just a small tweak. It's a real threat to their retirement plans.
Due to the gravity of the Chancellor's announcement, we're not going to shy away from hitting you with the core financial shock right away.
Go for it.
The new rules could cost Britons living abroad up to £1,000 a year for as long as they remain abroad. £1,000 annually, just to preserve their right to a full UK state pension.
That's a price hike you just can't ignore. So our mission today is clear. We need to unpack the nuts and bolts of this. The government is, well, they're scrapping the very affordable Class 2 contributions for British overseas residents.
And forcing them onto the much more expensive NI contribution option.
Exactly. Straight onto the Class 3 rate, and that's where this huge cost jump comes from. So okay, let's get into it.
As a starter for 10, let's nail down the timeline first. When does this cheaper option actually disappear?
The date you need to circle is the 6th of April, 2026. So this isn't some distant problem. It's a near-term deadline. It needs immediate attention from anyone affected.
Okay, 2026. And to really get the scale of this jump, let's talk numbers. What did Class 2 cost versus what Class 3 costs now?
Once stark. Historically, the voluntary Class 2 contribution for someone overseas was, incredibly cheap. We're talking figures around maybe 190s a year.
Wow. So £190 a year to protect a future income stream of almost 12 bins. That's an incredible return.
It was, and that's exactly why the government is framing it as a loophole. Now you look at the replacement, the Class 3, and that's the rate everyone overseas is being forced onto.
And that's closer to what?
It's currently closer to £900, maybe £1,000 annually.
So that's a 4- or 5-fold increase just overnight.
A minimum 4th increase.
Whoa!
It's a dramatic increase, isn't it?
So just to be crystal clear for everyone listening, why was Class 2 even the option for expats in the first place? It seems a bit random.
That's a great question. It's a technical point, but an important one. 2 contributions are normally for the self-employed in the UK. So when you live abroad, you're often treated in a similar way for NI purposes. You're voluntarily contributing, so you're kind of acting as your own employer to maintain your record.
I see. So it was the low-cost established way to make sure you didn't fall behind on your 35 qualifying years.
Exactly, and that protection is what's now under threat. This really changes the math for anyone who's planned their retirement, assuming a couple of £100 annual payment will do.
It absolutely does. I mean, if you're 50 years old with 17 years left to go, that's a huge difference.
A huge difference, an extra £800 a year for 17 years. The whole calculation just breaks down for a lot of people.
Let's shift to the government's justification for this. What was the official line?
The official line, and the language is quite pointed here, is that they are closing a generous loophole. Narrative they're pushing is that the old rules allowed people with, and I'm quoting, minimal UK ties to
buy their way in.
To buy their way into the state pension system at disproportionately low cost.
Oh, okay, so the idea is that someone who maybe only lived or worked in the UK for a couple of years could then move abroad and, for a very low price, get access to a lifetime benefit paid for by UK resident taxpayers.
That's precisely it. The stated goal is fiscal integrity. They want to ensure taxpayers' money isn't underwriting pensions for those who haven't contributed significantly over a long period.
Okay, this is where it gets, I think, really interesting because it's not just about the cost. The government is also tightening the rules on who is even allowed to make these payments at all.
That's right. This is maybe the even bigger story. They're putting up a hard new hurdle. From 2026 to be eligible for any voluntary overseas payment, which, remember, will only be the expensive. Class 3, you have to meet one of two very strict criteria.
Okay, it's either or. Please lay them out for us.
First, you must have lived or worked in the UK for at least 10 continuous years.
10 years continuous.
Or the second option, you must already paid at least 10 years of NI contributions before you moved abroad. So you have to clear one of those two 10-year hurdles.
Wow, so let me get this straight. If you left the UK in your early 20s after, say, only 6 years of work, you're now completely locked out. You can't pay into the system at any price.
That's the critical point. It effectively redefines what the UK considers a strong enough tie to its pension system. Think about someone. Let's call her Alexandra, a UK citizen. She works for 8 years in Manchester, then gets a great job in the US. She always planned to come back to the UK to retire. Under the old system, she could easily pay Class 2 and keep her record going. Under the new rules, she falls short of that 10-year mark. She can no longer pay Class 3 from the US to fill any future gaps. Her path is cut off.
That raises a huge question. How are they going to verify 10 continuous years of residency, especially for someone who moved away 30 years ago? That sounds like an administrative nightmare.
It absolutely does. I suppose that's a job for civil servants responsible for implementing the new Expat NI contribution regime. It implies HMRC is going to have to do a huge amount of digging into old tax records, employment histories, maybe even things like old utility bills, to prove that continuous period. It adds another layer of stress.
So let's talk about the financial stakes and who feels this pain the most. Who are the main groups affected by this double whammy of a cost increase and tougher eligibility?
Well, the groups are broad. First, it's pretty much anyone living outside the UK who is relying on Class 2. But second, it's also people with those interrupted histories, like our Alexandra example, who now suddenly find they can't even get on the ladder to begin with.
And we have to remember, this isn't just some abstract payment. This is about protecting a really significant piece of retirement income. Just remind us of the financial goal here.
The goal is to secure the full state pension. For that, you need 35 qualifying years, and right now the full new state pension is £225 a week.
Which is almost £12,000 a year, £11,973 to be precise.
Exactly, that's not pocket money, that's a foundational income stream, especially if you've moved to a country where you might not have access to local state benefits.
Right, and even though there was that confirmed 4% pension increase in the budget, thanks to the triple lock.
A positive note for sure.
It doesn't really soften the blow of this £1,000 annual contribution for expats.
Not at all. It just complicates the cost-benefit analysis.
Let's run through two quick examples. First, someone who is 63, they have 33 qualifying years, and they just need 2 more to get the full pension.
Okay, for them, it's a no-brainer. They have to pay the £1,000 Class 3 fee for 2 years. They are so close to locking in that £12,000 annual payment for life. The benefit massively outweighs the cost.
Right. Now what about someone who is, say, 40? They have maybe 15 years banked and they're facing 20 more years of paying £1,000 annually.
That's the tough one. That's £20,000 out of pocket over their career. For them, they have to seriously ask if it's worth it. Could that £1,000 a year be invested better elsewhere?
Especially with currency fluctuations and all that.
Exactly. For some people, especially those on a fixed income abroad, this could force them to just let those years lapse and accept a much smaller pension when they retire. It's a moment of really high-stakes financial planning.
Okay, this brings us to the practical steps. For anyone listening right now, probably frantically trying to check their NI record, what are the key actionable takeaways for you?
The time frame is tight, so inaction is risky. Several sources give a very clear set of steps.
So action number 1 is the foundation for everything else. Check your national insurance record. You have to know where you stand. Go online, get a state pension forecast and see exactly how many years you have and, crucially, see if you have any gaps you can fill.
And that leads straight into action 2. Assess the cost effectiveness.
That chestnut?
Run the numbers. Is paying the new higher Class 3 fee still going to be worth it for you based on the pension you expect to get?
Okay, and this is probably the most urgent one. Action 3 is the big one. Consider topping up outstanding contributions before the 6th of April 2026 deadline.
This is the critical window of opportunity. Right now, you can usually fill gaps going back up to 6 years, sometimes more, at the old cheaper Class 2 rate if you were eligible.
So if I have gaps from, say, 2020 to 2024, I can buy those years now at the cheap rate?
Yes, provided you meet the existing eligibility rules. But the moment that 2026 deadline hits, any chance to fill those years will jump to the much higher Class 3 price.
Really?
Yes, waiting could literally cost you thousands of pounds.
And finally, Action 4. Consult an expert or a trusted advisor. This isn't just generic advice, is it? It seems vital here.
It's vital because of that new 10-year hurdle. If your work history in the UK is a bit patchy, you need professional guidance to make sure you're even eligible to pay before you start sending thousands of pounds for Class 3 contributions.
A situation where paying for advice now could save you tens of thousands down the line.
Without a doubt.
So what does this all mean when we step back and look at the big picture?
Well, this deep dive really shows us a significant tightening of access to UK state benefits. The government is trying to redefine the social contract between the UK and its citizens abroad. It's framed as fiscal integrity, but it has a profound human impact.
It really forces expats into a painful choice: pay substantially more, accept a much lower pension, or maybe even feel pressured to move back to the UK to secure their future.
It's the government saying quite clearly that the UK safety net is for those with a demonstrated long-term financial commitment to the UK.
And that leads us to the final provocative thought we want to leave you with. Given the government's clear intent here and the creation of this new 10-year hurdle for pensions, how might this policy become a blueprint for other things? Could this 10-year continuous residency rule be used to define UK ties for accessing other social benefits in the future?
It's a question worth thinking about. This conversation about who's entitled to what has really only just begun. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Yes, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
And a special thanks to our subscribers. They're the ones who make it possible for us to be here at all. Thank you.